My name is Jackie Streat and I'm a partner at Silver Levine. So we are chartered certified accountants and we're based in Tottenham Court Road. We have a specialist unit within Silver Levine that just looks after the accounts, tax and VAT affairs for over 2,000 barrister clients. Okay. So I'm here to talk to you about two main areas. Firstly, how you can finance the path to achieving a career at the bar. And secondly, I'll be looking at your tax and filing obligations that will come your way once you start your pupillage at Chambers. I'll also be providing one or two tax tips about how to save tax. Okay, so as I'm sure you're aware, career at the bar, it offers significant benefits. It has the potential to be exciting, it's well respected, can be extremely lucrative, and of course, it's intellectually stimulating. But the road to becoming a barrister is notoriously tough. And of course, it's an expensive one. So what are you up against financially? Well, first of all, there's your undergraduate degree. As you know, universities can charge up to £9,250 per year. Plus, there are your cost of living expenses. Next, there is your law conversion course. Now, if you undertook a non-law degree, you'll need to study for a postgraduate diploma in law or a PGDL. And fees for this go up to £14,300 for a full-time course in London. And on top of this, there are your bar course fees. Bar course fees, they range from 12k to 20k, with courses in London being more expensive. And of course, you still have to pay for your living expenses. Note that different universities providing these bar courses, they vary not only in terms of fees, but also on the tuition, types of tuition on offer. So for example, the contact times that you have with tutors, the materials they provide, and the learning styles that they cater for. So do compare your bar course providers carefully before making a decision. You should also be aware that some of these law schools, they provide the option of dividing your bar course into two parts, with the first part being much cheaper than the second. So if you're a student who's unfortunate enough to fail the first part of the course, you are not locked into paying the full course fees, which reduces some of your financial risk. Okay? So example, the ICCA, not ACCA, that's what I belong to. The ICCA bar course, it has a total cost of 16k, but part 1 is just 4k, with part 2 being 12. Okay. So, what sources of finance are available to you to assist with these financial obligations? Well, the biggest source of finance will be the scholarships and bursaries provided by the Four Inns Court. They provide scholarship awards totaling in excess of £6 million per year, which is quite substantial, and I'm going to discuss this in more detail towards the end of the talk. Other sources, savings. You might have savings that you could use to help with your bar school fees, but in my experience, students tend to owe money rather than have savings. You may have support from your families to assist with your bar course. Then there is the student loans company. Now, the Student Loans Company provides postgraduate funding for master's courses. So if you choose a bar course that is combined with a master's qualification, you can apply to the Student Loans Company for postgraduate funding. Max funding is around £12,500, which can be used to pay towards your course fees and, of course, your living expenses. You could apply to a high street bank for a loan. Loans vary considerably from about 1k to 15k, but they are all subject to a suitability assessment. And be aware that you will be paying interest at the commercial rate on the loan. So you'll be repaying not only the capital element of the loan, but also the interest.
Is that also true for the student loans company? Is that also means assessed and
interest is charged?
And commercial interest?
It's pretty high at the moment, yes. At the moment, interest on student loans is high. I can't tell you the exact rate, but I could certainly find out. Yeah. Then there are private student loan providers like Lendwise. Again, the size of the loan varies considerably, and I would advise that you apply at least 6 months prior to starting your course. Make that application 6 months prior to starting your course. Again, interest will be due on the loan at the commercial rate. Then there are the bar school providers themselves. They provide a limited number of awards, but these tend to be offered at students with either they've got exceptional abilities or they're students who cannot otherwise afford the course at all. Okay. Next, there are pupillage award advances. Now, if you are lucky enough to secure a place at Chambers whilst you are studying your bar course, well, some chambers, they allow you to draw down on your pupillage award prior to actually joining Chambers. And you can use this to pay towards your bar course. But be aware, any drawdown that you take, this will be deducted from the award you would have received during your first year at Chambers. Also, depending on the structure of your pupillage award, some of that drawdown may be taxable, and I'm going to discuss that later on in the talk. Other forms of funding, charities. There are some charities that do offer financial support, but these are quite unusual. I suggest you speak to your local education authority awards officer who can provide further information about this. And finally, there is the Bar Council themselves. They hold a law reform essay competition every year with prize money in excess of 10K. So this is open to anyone who's currently studying for a law degree, PGDL, bar course, and even those seeking pupillage. All of this information is available on the public domain, so please do go ahead to make your own research after this talk. So, coming back to the main source of funding, scholarships from the 4 Inns of Court. As I'm sure you know, they are Lincoln's Inn, Inner Temple, Middle Temple, and Gray's Inn. They offer scholarships in excess of £6 million per year. And they also, some of them have grants for subsidised housing arrangements as well. Okay. So, how does the scholarship application process work? Well, you can only make one application to one inn, and they all speak to each other. So I will just do it to one inn. So do your homework, do some research, Pick the right inn, pick the inn that's going to give you the best chance of success. You do not need to be a member of an inn to apply for a scholarship, but you will need to join them to receive the money if you get the scholarship. Okay. So what are the inns looking for? Well, they're all looking for the same thing. Firstly, intellectual ability, or excellent intellectual ability. They are looking for evidence of excellence in your performance at university. They are looking for excellent legal research skills. They're looking for your motivation and evidence of a serious commitment to the bar. They'll look at your potential as an advocate, your oral skills, such as muting, debating, mock trials. Then they're going to look at your personal qualities, your reliability, your independence of mind, your leadership skills, and finally, your integrity. Okay? And on top of that, last thing, they will look at your financial circumstances. All awards are means tested. So looking at the inns individually, we'll start with Lincoln's Inn. Lincoln's Inn provides funding of in excess of £2 million, with £1.7 million being directed at bar course scholars and about 183K aimed at GDL scholars. There are around 100 scholarships on offer, and they range between 6K to 21K. This is for bar course scholars, by the way. All scholarships, they're awarded on merit, but the financial amount that you receive, this will always be means tested. The inn also has a number of student flats available, but note the rent for the accommodation will be taken from your award. Okay. So what is the application process? How does that work? Well, you need to make a written application to the inn. Then if you are successful, you'll be invited in to a panel interview. No award will be made without a panel interview. Sorry, it's a bit daunting. Okay. Bar Course Awards closing date for the Bar Course Awards, beginning of November in the year prior to the commencement of the bar course. GDL closing date, beginning of May in the year prior to your GDL course. So please ensure that your references are submitted on time. And when you do submit your your applications are submitted on time. And when you submit those applications, ensure that you also provide any references that are necessary. Next, in Inner Temple. Inner Temple provides funding of about 1.9 million. Again, the scholarships vary in size, and there are about 100 in total, with the largest award being around 22k. Inner Temple is the only inn to guarantee a GDL scholarship winner an award of at least equal value to a for their bar course without a further interview. Okay, so that's quite nice. Again, the application process is the same. So if you win, if you are successful and you get an award towards your GDL, they will automatically give you a further award for your bar course without having to come in for further interview. That's quite nice.
Which one was it, sorry?
This is Inner Temple. Inner Temple. Next two inns, Middle Temple and Gray's Inn. Middle Temple's got funding of about 1.4 million and Gray's Inn about 1.5 million. The thing about Gray's Inn is they offer fewer awards, but they're larger in value. It's the max award at Gray's Inn is about 25k. They also offer some residential scholarships. They offer 9 successful scholars free accommodation within the inn's estate. Okay. So before I move on to the second part of the talk, I just want to make one final point. I'm sure the rewards are great for those who succeed at the bar. Okay. But understand that the path to becoming a barrister, it's extremely expensive and extremely high risk. There is no guarantee of you becoming a barrister at the end of it. So before you do enroll in your bar course and you saddle yourself with tremendous debt, please do take a reality check about your skills and your potential. Do you have what it takes to beat the odds and succeed at the bar? And I'm sure you all do, and you'll all be successful, and you will move on, gain a place at Chambers, and I'm now going to roll you forward in time when you have now joined Chambers, you are a pupil, and you are enjoying your very exciting career as a barrister. What will you need to think about for tax purposes? Okay, so HMRC will deem that you have commenced your self-employment trade from the start of your second 6. You will need to formally register for self-employment by submitting something called a CWF1 form to HMRC. So once you are self-employed, what does it mean? Well, it means firstly that you will need to submit annual tax returns to HMRC. And secondly, it means that you will become liable to 3 different types of taxes. They are income tax, Class 4 NIC, and the lovely VAT. So first 2 taxes, income tax and Class 4 NIC. All I'm going to say about these taxes at the moment is they are directly dependent on your self-employment profits. Higher profits, higher taxes, lower profits, lower taxes. And that's why it's so very important that you gather and record as many of your business expenses as possible, because the more expenses you have, the lower your profits, the lower your taxes. Okay? I'm going to explain exactly how those 2 taxes are computed, as well as VAT, a bit later. But first, let's talk about a tax return. Now, what on earth is a tax return? Well, it's a form that you submit to HMRC wherein you're going to declare all your forms of income. Most important one of which will be your self-employment income and expenses from your barrister trade. But you may have other forms of income. For example, you may have returns on your investments. You may receive interest on your bank accounts. You may be employed at the same time as being self-employed. You'd still need to declare your employment income within your tax return, even though it was taxed under PAYE. Okay? Other things you would put in your tax return are things like gift aid payments and pension contributions you may make. And why is it important to declare these? It's important because this will give you money off your tax bill if your top rated income tax is 40% or higher. But as I said, most important, let's just go back a few more things about tax returns. Tax return always covers a fiscal year. Fiscal year runs from 6th of April to 5th of April. Filing deadline of the tax return the following 31st of January, following the fiscal year. And then there are two famous dates when you will be paying your taxes: 31st of January, following the fiscal year, and then another tax payment will be made by the 31st of July after that January. There are fines and penalties if you file late. There are fines and penalties if you pay late. Penalties grow the later you are. Okay. So, most important thing that's going to go into your tax return will be your self-employment income and expenses from your barrister trade. What is this going to comprise? Income. I'll start with that. Your pupillage award. Now, there are special rules around pupillage awards. So, any pupillage award that pertains to your first 6 is not taxable. You do not need to declare it in your tax returns. Any pupillage award that pertains to your second 6 is taxable and will need to be declared as income. When it comes to a drawdown, the simplest way of thinking about drawdowns is, what would you have received in your second 6 had you not taken it? Yeah, because obviously what you would have received in your second 6 is going to go up, and it's that amount that's taxable. Okay. The other thing to note about chambers is that some chambers weight their pupillage awards. They weight it more heavily in the first 6 compared to the second. So you receive more in the first 6 compared to the second. This is very beneficial to you because it means that a higher proportion of your award will not be taxable. Other forms of income, fees that you receive from your clients, and of course if you're doing any deviling work for other barristers, that will have to be declared as income. Expenses, right. What is the definition of a business expense? Well, it's something that is wholly and exclusively for business purposes. Note, I didn't use the word necessarily. So if you've got your eye on a Mont Blanc pen or a Gucci wheelie bag, and I'm not actually sure if Gucci do wheelie bags, but if they did and you wanted to buy one for your business, you could do so as long as you're using it for business. It is tax deductible. I'll start by telling you with what is not allowable. What is not allowable: if you take a fellow solicitor or a client out for a meal or a drink, this will be deemed to be entertaining by HMRC. This is not an allowable expense. So what are your typical expenses going to be? Biggest one, likely to be your chamber's rent and expenses. You may well have some sort of an allowance or reduction when you first join, but this will certainly grow as your income grows. Subsistence. Subsistence is food and drinks whilst outside your normal pattern of trade. So what it's not is your normal breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's more if you're being sent all over the place to different courts, seeing different clients, and you grab an extra snack or a coffee, yeah, it's that. Or if you're working late, unsociable hours, you grab an extra snack. Or if you stay overnight in a hotel, because you have a remote court hearing early next morning, cost of the hotel and all food and drink at the hotel will be tax deductible. Other types of expenses, travel. So your travel costs from chambers to courts and back again, and from chambers to clients and back again, is tax deductible. But your travel from home to chambers, your normal place of work, is not. Okay. Again, how you travel, this is up to you. You want to go somewhere by first class, this is your choice. As long as the trip is for business purposes, you can claim tax relief on it. Motor expenses. If you use your car partly for business, you can claim motor expenses. Now, this can be done in one of two ways. First way is called the simplified scheme. Simplified scheme is where we simply give you an allowance for your mileage, and that allowance is 45p per mile for the first 10,000 business miles, then 25p per mile thereafter. Alternatively, we could account for all your motor expenses. So your repairs, your insurance, car tax, petrol, everything you can possibly think of to do with the car. But then we would prorate those costs for your business use. Okay. Mobile phone costs, cost of your mobile phone, cost of the calls on the mobile phone, cost of your home internet if you use that for business, cost of your home landline if you use that for business. We could bring those expenses in, but again, we would prorate them for business use. Other types of expenses, so writing materials, pens, paper, notepads, that sort of thing. Computer costs, cost of the computer itself, any software that you purchase for it. You have a home printer and you use it for business, we can bring those costs in. Any ink for your home printer. Research costs, these are costs of any books you might buy, any law journals. If you pay for any online research facility like Westlaw, even if you buy the Times for the law pages, we can bring those costs in. Subscriptions, these are memberships to professional bodies. So for example, your membership to the Bar Council, your prac certificate costs, data protection, and there may be many others to which you belong. Your indemnity insurance costs, tax deductible. Our fees are tax deductible. Training and CPD costs. Then there's court attire. Now, HMRC are quite strict about court attire these days. So strictly speaking, all you can have are wig, gown, collars, cuffs, bands. I would say we could also get away with tunic shirts, so the shirts without a collar, so you put your detachable collar over the top. Bless you. But there is a famous case called Malley versus Drummond, where HMRC, they won their case to disallow dark suits because of duality of purpose. They keep you covered, they keep you warm. You cannot split the personal and the business use of the suit. I'm just a messenger. Yeah.
Cleaning expenses are typically allowed.
I think you can, yeah. We normally put through dry cleaning expenses, yeah. Finally, business bank account charges and interest, we can bring that in. The other thing you should note is that you can go back 7 years pre-commencement, that's pre-start of your second six, and we can bring in any capital item that you have already purchased for your business. Capital item is something that lasts longer than a year. So, for example, you may have already purchased a computer, a desk, a chair, your wig and gown. Yeah, they may have already been purchased prior to second six. Please keep those receipts, log them. They are worth money to you. We will bring them into your first set of accounts. Another small point I want to mention. Yeah.
With the bar course, if someone finances it, since you can go back 7 years, would that be deductible?
Bar course fees, no. Any fees for training to qualify are not tax deductible.
When you do the actual job, when you upgrade your skills, then these courses would be?
Yes. Any training you undertake once you are qualified that extends your existing knowledge. Yeah, extends.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not gaining, but extending.
Yeah.
Just to be clear,
Yeah.
I think you said it already, but which expenses that you might accrue before starting pupillage worth keeping a note of?
Yeah, like your computer. Yeah, software for them. Yes, if you bought that computer and you're going to be using it in your business, log it, keep that receipt. You may well buy your wig and gown prior to start of your second six. Desk, chair, even certain books, I would say are capital in nature. Yeah, means they last longer than a year.
Okay. So literally, as long as you're using it when you then start.
Yeah. Small point about wig and gown. So some of you may be lucky enough to have parents or relatives who offer to purchase your wig and gown for you. And that's all very nice and it gives them a lot of pleasure. But what I would say is ask them if instead of buying the wig and gown for you directly, if they could give you the money and then you buy the wig and gown, okay? Because if you pay for the wig and gown, you can get tax relief on it. If they pay for it, you won't, okay? Because you didn't spend the money. The gift of the money from them to you is not taxable. It may be relevant to inheritance tax should the unthinkable happen, they pass away within 7 years of the gift. But it's just a small point. I do have quite a few pupils who come to us and they've been gifted these things, so they can't get tax relief on them.
So in relation to that, if the wig and gown, they usually come to about £1,000, is it right?
Yes, they're very expensive.
So what proportion of, how much cash saving would you have net? Like I guess it depends what you earn.
Depends on your marginal rate of tax.
Yeah.
So if you're paying a marginal rate of tax at 40%, you get 40% back.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Just in real terms, when you sort of add up these tax deductible expenses, if someone's really kind of maxed out as many expenses as possible in terms of what's tax deductible, how much would they actually end up saving in real terms?
It depends on what they save, but you would get tax relief at your marginal rate of tax on all those expenses. Yeah. Plus, some of them may be relevant for VAT as well, which I'm going to mention as well. You'll be able to reclaim the VAT, especially your capital items.
I think what you're saying as well is that if you earn a lot of money, your tax rate goes up, therefore your savings is less. But if you're not earning a lot of money, correct me if I'm wrong, your tax rate will be lower and therefore your savings will be greater. So you were saying really the 400 quid would be if I wasn't earning much money. If I was earning a lot of money, let's say I make 100k,
Yes.
then my tax rate would be
Higher.
Yeah,
Let me
what-
talk to you exactly about that. Exactly. So, what do we do with all that information? We take your income, we deduct your expenses, we come up with a profit figure. It's that profit figure that's then used to compute your taxes. So, how does that work? Income tax. As you probably already know, first 12,570, this is your personal allowance. It is tax-free. Then your earnings from 12,570 to 50,270, you'll be taxed at 20%. Then your earnings from 50,270 to 125,140, you'll be taxed at 40%. And then earnings above 125,140, you're taxed at 45%. Then there's the class 4, NIC. How does that work? First 12,570, you don't pay any. Then your earnings from 12,570 to 50,270, you'll be taxed at 6%. And then on your income in excess of 50,270, you'll be taxed at 2%. So at the moment, highest rate of tax, 47%. Yeah, tax and NI. In addition, there are your student loan repayments to contend with. Okay. Now, student loan repayments are paid to HMRC along with your taxes, and then HMRC pay the student loans element to the student loans company. So how do they work? If you have a Plan 1 type loan, your earnings in excess of 24,990 will be taken at 9%. If you've got Plan 2 type loan, your earnings in excess of 27,295 will be taken at 9%. If you also have a postgrad loan, as well as a normal student loan, there will be a separate payment for that, along with your taxes, and your earnings in excess of 21k will be taken at 6%. Okay. I'm now going to talk to you about the third tax. This is VAT. VAT, delightful tax. It has a separate regime all of its own. It's not connected or not directly connected to your annual tax returns. It is a regime where businesses such as yourself gather a tax for HMRC. Yeah, you are gathering VAT from your clients on behalf of HMRC, and as a thank you, you can reclaim the VAT that you pay on your business expenses. So how does it work? Once you've commenced trade, you are meant to do a test on the last day of every month. You look back over the last 12 months. I appreciate you won't be able to do this initially, then just go back to your commencement. You look at your something called taxable turnover, which is basically the fees that you receive from your clients, UK-based, okay? Look at your turnover over the last 12 months. Has it exceeded 90k? If the answer is yes, you must register for VAT within the next 30 days. This is a legal obligation. This is not a choice. So once you're registered for VAT, what does this mean? It means, firstly, you will need to tell your clerks to start charging 20% VAT on your fees to your clients. And secondly, you will need to prepare and submit quarterly VAT returns to HMRC. What goes into a VAT return? You will declare the fees that you've received from your clients in that quarter. You declare the VAT that you've gathered from your clients. And then you can also declare the business expenses that you've paid for in that quarter and the VAT that you've paid on those business expenses. You then deduct the VAT that you've paid off the VAT that you've gathered from your clients, and you pay the difference over to HMRC. Okay? There are fines and penalties if you file late. There are fines and penalties if you pay late. You've got 1 month and 7 days post the end of the quarter to submit the VAT return and pay the VAT. So in general, VAT, admin headache, quarter on quarter for the rest of your career. Okay, even more so because of something called MTD. Are we running out of time? We are. Okay, let's speed it up then. Benefits of being VAT registered. Let's just briefly tell you what they are. Some chambers might insist that you are VAT registered from the start of second six. Some may insist you are VAT registered from start of tenancy. Others may leave it to you and the size of your taxable turnover to decide when to register. What are the benefits? Firstly, cash flow. You can reclaim the VAT that you pay on your expenses. Now, if you're paying chambers, VAT on your chambers rent and expenses, this could be a considerable amount of money for you to reclaim. Also, in your very first VAT return, you can go back 4 years and you can reclaim the VAT on any capital item that you have purchased for your business. Capital item, desk, chair, computer, wig, gown, even a telephone handset. So these initial invoices that you have, where you're buying capital items prior to commencing, these invoices, these are worth money to you. Note them and keep them, go dig them out. Yeah, because they'll be precious not only in terms of reclaiming the VAT, but also getting tax relief on the VAT exclusive amount. Okay, I am going to leave VAT for now. How long have I got? 2 minutes?
About
2 minutes. 2 more points. Golden rule. This is the main thing to take away with you today. If you forget everything else, this is it. In order to cope with the self-employment regime, it is essential you put money aside for tax as you go along. Okay, so if you have just joined chambers, you're about to join chambers, go and open a lovely high interest savings account. Call it your tax account. And then when you commence your self-employment trade, make regular transfers into that account. I would say early days, 30% of fees that you receive, 30% of any second six pupillage award, transfer it regularly into that account. You could do it with every payment you receive. You could do it daily, weekly, monthly, as long as it is regular. You should find that you will have sufficient funds in that account. So when you sit down with your accountant and they're telling you what tax you need to pay, you are sitting very comfortably and thinking, yeah, that's all fine. It's all safely in there. Okay, that's the golden rule, most important thing. I am going to leave you now with our first year free offer, just so you know. We have a first year free offer that we give to new pupils. It covers preparation of your first tax return, your first set of accounts. It covers registration for VAT, registration for self-employment, and it always includes an annual meeting with a partner where we would discuss your tax liability with you and go through your accounts in detail. This first year free offer is conditional upon 2 criteria. The first is that you provide your information to us in a timely manner, and the second is that you are receptive to us continuing to act. Okay, that is it. So it's a bit rushed.